Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. So, physical processes in the atmosphere. Now, this much you already know that what are the physical processes in the atmosphere, right? Because we have discussed it many times in different ways since your first semester, right? The two most important part of any modeling system is one is the dynamics part and other is the physics part, right? So in the physics part, the model tries to mimic all the physical processes that are supposed to occur in the atmosphere, right? That's what is the uh, task or job of this part of the model. That how to include the physical processes that exist in the atmosphere into the model in mathematical forms, right? Now, among the physical processes, you can count yourself that what are the physical processes. Uh, can you count what are the physical processes? Starting from, say, solar radiation, right? That is the most important part. Solar radiation. That is the source of all the energy, isn't it? Solar radiation. So, the solar radiation has to be included in the model or parameterized in the model. Why do we call parameterization? Is because now the scale at which these processes occur. Now, we cannot resolve that scale into the model. If we cannot resolve that scale in the model, then we have to parameterize that. Right? And so we call it parameterization. So the radiation has to be parameterized in the model because it occurs at micro scale. Right? All the radiative processes occur at the micro scale. Right? And as the solar radiation reaches the ground, then the first thing that happens is part of it is absorbed by the ground, part of it is reflected by the ground, and then after the absorption, it is re-emitted in the long wave, right? The incoming solar radiation is in the short wave range, and the outgoing is in the long wave range. The one which is emitted, reflected back is in the long wave. Okay, so that's what occurs. So therefore, the first is solar radiation, and then depending upon the surface characteristics or the land surface processes, the radiation is reflected or absorbed or emitted. Right? Some kinds of land will reflect more. Some kinds of types of land will absorb more, and some types of land, according to its character, it will emit. Right. So the next most important part is the land surface process parameterization. Right. How to parameterize the land surface processes. Now, when we talk about the land surface processes, there are many more things than the reflection, absorption, and emission of the radiation on the land surface processes. Okay. For example, the land surface of the Earth or Earth surface is covered by a wide variety of things. Okay. Like part of the surface, Earth surface is land. Part of the Earth surface is water, sea water. There are river systems. There are forests. Again, among the forest also there are so many types of forest, trees, a wide variety of trees. Okay, like evergreen forest. We call the crops, the tropical rainforest, tundra, and many types of forest that you might have studied or learned earlier. So each type of tree or plant that occurs or exists on the earth surface again modulates the surrounding air according to its own character, right? Like if some tree is having a wide leaf, it will try to block the solar radiation, will not allow the solar radiation to reach the ground. right? Because it is blocked by the trees, so folio, the leaves of the tree itself. Also, the trees are very important. Plants are very important for evapotranspiration, right? Might have studied that. So, according to the characteristics of the tree, like again, we have got the crops which are farming crops like paddy or wheat, uh, and other kind of things like we call rabi and kharif type of crops, and they are seasonal, right? They are not there all the time. So we have to take into account all these kind of things. The seasonal crops which we use for farming, agriculture purpose, that has to be um, taken care of accordingly. The bushes, which are short in height, they have their own characteristics. They have to be taken care of separately. Tall trees, dense trees, right? All those things now, evergreen trees, all those things have to be taken care of accordingly. And it is very, very difficult to take care of individual trees and plants in the model. So we try to account for their uh, effect in a combined way, like we call, try to represent it statistically. And we shall study that in the land surface process parameterization. Okay. Now, according to the land surface, again, uh, there are sensible heats, sensible heating of the land. Right? The one which is now partly absorbed by the land, it heats it, right? Then there are uh, water bodies on the surface which gets evaporated because of the heating. So we have to take into account the evaporation, right? And that is taken care of by including the sensible heat flux, right? Sorry, that is got taken care of by the latent heat flux. The heating, simple heating, plain heating is sensible heat flux, and the one which is affected by the moisture or the water is the latent heat flux on the surface. Okay, then how the land's surface or the ocean surface interacts with the lowest layer of the atmosphere, that is the air sea interaction, that also we have to take into account, right? So evaporation from the ocean, evaporation from the river, evaporation from the lakes, all those things have to be taken care into the model. Okay. Uh, I mentioned about the reflection, and that is again depends on the albedo, and albedo depends on the type of soil, right? Like sandy now soil will reflect more. The part of the land which is covered by the snow, that will also reflect more, right? So in the polar regions, we have got more snow. There will be more albedo there. Okay. So, so that means next important part after the solar radiation in the model is the land surface process, because solar radiation is directly absorbed by the land, and the land in turn interacts with the solar radiation in various forms through all these processes, like because of the existence of the vegetation, forest, ocean surface, etc., etc. Now, once the interaction takes place between the solar radiation and the Earth surface, then because of the heating of the Earth surface by solar radiation, the air bubbles, the air parcel starts rising up because they get heated and they become lighter. The density becomes lower than the surrounding air, which is not heated as much as the other parcel, other part of the land. So because of the differential heating of the land, some part will get more heated, some part will get less heated. So the one which gets more heated, from there the air parcel or bubbles will start rising up, and it will pass through the lowest layer of the atmosphere, that is the boundary layer, PBL. We call it planetary boundary layer. Okay. Now PBL again has a lot of characteristics. It modulates the transfer of heat and the moisture from the Earth's surface to the atmosphere in different ways. Either through the either directly allowing the thermals to rise, or through the eddies which get generated, right? And then there are different laws which are applicable in the boundary layer. Like you might have studied that the lowest layer of the boundary layer is called what is the lowest layer of the boundary layer? Are you all hearing me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, what is the lowest layer of the boundary layer? Anybody? Gitesh, Shweta? So yes, yeah, you're trying to assemble a drone to take measurements in the boundary layer, 100 meters to 100 meters. को क्या कहते हैं? What is that layer? Surface layer, yeah. Yeah, the lowest 10% of the PBL, the typical depth of the PBL is about 1 kilometer, right? And the lowest 10% of that is about 100 meters, that is the surface layer. And that is the one where all of us survive, all of us are living, right? The lowest 10% of the PBL. Our average height is how much? 5 meters, 6 meters? Definitely not beyond that. 7 meters तो बहुत कम होता है rarely, right? So all of us live in this surface layer only. Also, this lowest layer, where all these biomes exist, like trees and human beings and animals, they're also called the biosphere. All the biomes exist in that layer, lowest layer. So the lowest layer is surface layer of the PBL, right? And surface layer follows its own way of heat transfer or momentum transfer or moisture transfer. And now you might have heard about the logarithmic laws. The way the heat is transferred in the lowest layer is by the logarithmic laws. Now we shall study that in this class. Also, you might have heard about the Ekman spiral, right? Ekman spiral. Heard about the Ekman spiral? Exactly. The Ekman spiral also exists in the lowest layer of the atmosphere, the surface layer. So the way heat, moisture, momentum is transferred from the Earth's surface to the lowest layer of the atmosphere, including the PBL, has its own ways. And then there are also some low-level clouds. Fog, for example, fog is a cloud which exists at the Earth's surface. Fog, or the lower clouds, stratus, which have a very low base. Right. Generally, the PBL, the clouds generally are supposed to occur at the top of the PBL. In other words, the base of the clouds are generally at the top of the PBL, 1 kilometer approximately, in general, but not always, because in case of the winter time when the fog or the low level cloud descends down to the Earth's surface, which we call fog, then they are on the ground. And the moment the cloud forms, the formation of cloud occurs, then it changes the entire physics differently, accordingly. Right? The clouds have again hydrometeors inside, and they interact with the radiation, in their own ways. We call it cloud radiation interaction. Right? So inside the PBL, generally we don't have cloud. Generally, we have eddies and thermals, but we can have clouds. Low-level clouds can be there. Stratus cloud can be there. Very low bases of the cloud, especially during the monsoon season, especially in Kerala, where the clouds are so low. In the peak of the monsoon season, or over the mountains, for example, you might have seen stratus clouds hanging on the mountains now. So clouds can be there in the PBL, but the one which is most raining or the convective cloud, they are generally having the base at the top of the PBL, right? So PBL has to be parameterized in the model accordingly. So we have got now the third physical process, right? One is the solar radiation, second is the land surface process, third is the PBL, the planetary boundary layer parameterization, right? So when all these thermals and bubbles are rising up, their parcel is rising up, that means that is rising because of the convection currents that develops, right? And convection is so important, very, very important, because it carries or it transports the heat moisture momentum from the Earth's surface to the deeper layer in the atmosphere to very high levels. And it is the one which is responsible for formation of the convective clouds, the cumulus cloud that you know, the stratocumulus clouds that you know, the cumulonimbus cloud that you know. All those things are formed because of the convection process. The entire tropics of the Earth's surface is dominated by convection. Convective processes are very, very important. Convection also occurs in the middle latitude, obviously, but in tropics it is much more. So the convection has to be again taken into account in the model, and the scale at which the convection occurs is much smaller than the scale of the grid size of the model. So they have to be parameterized normally. Unless we have very high resolution model, like 1 kilometer or 2 kilometer, in which we assume that such high resolution models are able to directly resolve the convection, but otherwise it has to be parameterized. So cumulus parameterization, convection parameterization also is known by cumulus parameterization. So cumulus parameterization is one of the most important physical processes. Cumulus convection is the most important physical processes of the model. Okay, and this is the one which leads to the formation of deep clouds, cumulonimbus. And you have learned about the characteristics of the cumulonimbus clouds. Right? There is strong flux at the cloud base, upward flux, which is actually directly entering from the PBL, planetary boundary layer, or pumping the heat and moisture from the planetary boundary layer into the cloud through the PBL. And as those mass fluxes, they go up, depending on the situation and profiles of the atmosphere. The atmosphere is unstable or stable or neutral. Now, depending upon that, the clouds grow deeper and deeper and deeper and take the shape of cumulonimbus, which have got strong updrafts, strong downdrafts, lateral entrainment from the sides of the cloud. There are entrainment also taking place from the sides of the cloud, and then from the top of the cloud again there is outflow from the top of the cloud. For example, this, we use the pointer. How do I use the pointer? Okay, laser pointer. Okay, so this is the typical cumulonimbus cloud. Can you see this cumulonimbus cloud?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this top of the cloud is called the top of the cumulonimbus cloud is called the
Anvil.
anvil, right? So anvil, there is a lot of derailment taking place. Means all the characteristics of the cumulonimbus cloud which are there, like this part of the cloud is generally frozen, right? It contains ice crystals, right? So because of the entrainment from the top of the cloud, ice crystals are ejected in the atmosphere, surrounding atmosphere. Also, depending upon the type of anvil, we can have some continuous stratiform rainfall because in the anvil there is no convection. Convection is only taking place uh, in this part of the CB, cumulonimbus. So from the anvil, we can have stratified precipitation. Whereas from the base of the CB, we can have the convective precipitation. You might have heard about different types of precipitation: convective precipitation and stratiform precipitation. Stratiform precipitation is the one which occur because of non-convective processes, right? Like now, simple rising of the air mass uh, when it reaches the lifting condensation level, the condensation takes place, and then the water droplets form. And when the size of the water droplets becomes too large, then they start falling down. So the precipitation that occurs because of that process is the stratiform precipitation. Whereas the precipitation which occurs because of the convective processes on the base of the cumulonimbus cloud, that is the convective precipitation. So in a typical cumulonimbus cloud, you can have both types of precipitation, convective as well as stratiform. Stratiform from the top of the anvil, the anvil is very thick and very large, widespread. Then there can be stratiform precipitation from there, and from the base of the cumulonimbus cloud, you get the convective precipitation. And I've got strong updrafts, I've got strong downdrafts. In fact, when a cumulonimbus cloud approaches you, then you start feeling chilled, cool air, right? And that chilled, cool air is actually the downdraft, which is coming from very high level of the cumulonimbus, which is quite cold now, where there are all ice, snow, etc. So it's coming from that high level of the cumulonimbus, so it's quite cold. Right? And no, it leads to a lot of, again, processes. It kicks a lot of processes, like it repels or it displaces the warm air as the cool downdraft comes and hits the ground, and because it cannot penetrate the ground, so it starts flowing horizontally across the ground, and then when it happens, then all the warm air which are there in the surrounding, that is just uh, pushed away, and some of them they get just lifted, and then as they get lifted they go up, and then again they form another cumulus cloud, and so on. A chain of processes start, and these old clouds can die, new clouds can form in that way, chain reaction. So a lot of continuous processes, chain reaction processes occurs because of this convective, deep convective cumulus clouds. So we have to take into account in the model all these updrafts, the downdrafts, okay, the lateral entrainments from the side of the cloud, the entrainment from the side of the cloud, and so on. So all these things are taken care of in the cumulus parameterization scheme of the model. And once the cloud forms, then you know that lots of varieties of hydrometeors. Some of them are liquid form in the lower levels of the cloud. Some of them are frozen particles. Again, frozen particles are also different types. They can be simple ice, they can be snow, they can be grapple, they can be hail, and so on. So all these things now are part of the cloud microphysical processes, and that has to be dealt up separately. And because the processes, the scale at which these processes occur are very small, so they have to be parameterized. Now, it's very difficult to explicitly resolve the cloud microphysical processes unless your resolution of the model is very, very high, like in terms of few meters only. But it's not possible to have a model at present with a few meters resolution, because it will require huge amount of computing time, because uh, the computational time is also very important. Now, it's not happen that now all the time to run the model is just consumed by one process, that is the cloud microphysical processes alone, then you cannot get the result in time, and so you cannot issue the forecast in time. Therefore, everything has to be very practical and viable. So we cannot resolve the cloud microphysical processes directly or explicitly. Therefore, it has to be parameterized. So the cloud microphysical process parameterization is a normal. So how many parameterization now we have got? We have got radiation parameterization. We have got line surface process parameterization. We have got PBL parameterization. We have got convection parameterization. We have got cloud microphysics parameterization, isn't it? So all those things we shall discuss one by one in our class. Okay. And then of course, you know that when the clouds occur, they interact with the radiation in their own way. Like you see that part of the radiation gets reflected by the cloud. The clouds will also absorb part of the radiation. It can scatter the radiation. It can re-emit the radiation, right? So they are the cloud radiation interaction. So all those things will depend upon the type of the cloud, the amount of the cloud, how much cloud is there, like whether the cloud is like covering the sky completely, that's called the overcast, or is it covering the cloud sky partially. So that means we need to compute or know how much is the cloud amount, right? And what is the unit of the cloud amount? Do you know? How do you measure the cloud amount?
Octa.
Octa.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir, in octa.
exactly, in octa. So octa, we call octa because we assume that the entire sky is divided into 8 sections or 8 subdivisions, right? So we call it octa. But that is a kind of terminology used for our operational meteorological purpose. Like when the observation is reported by an observer at any station, then he'll report the cloud amount in terms of octa. But in the model, we don't use this unit octa in the model. We use simple percentage. Okay, how much percentage of the sky or the grid box? Because for anybody, no, for a model, it's a sky, basically the grid box. Whatever sky is covered by the grid box, that is its sky, right? And for us, the sky is the farthest point which we can see by our eye upwards. That is the sky. Sky is the limit. Right? For model, it is the grid box, size of the grid box, the sky for the model. So the fraction of the grid box which is covered by the cloud, called the cloud fraction, and that is in terms of the percentage. We don't divide the grid box in terms of the octas, but we divide it into percentage fraction. So for model, for computational purpose, the unit is fraction, percentage, whereas for the practical purpose for reporting observations, it is octa, right? So depending upon the amount of the cloud, how much octa or how much percentage, accordingly, these things will affect the radiation, how much is reflected, how much is absorbed, how much is scattered, how much is emitted, and so on. So we need to know two things very precisely in the model. One is that how much is the cloud amount or cloud fraction. Another is what are the contents or hydrometeor contents of the cloud. Because depending on the type of the hydrometeors, this radiation will be accordingly modulated. How much will be reflected or absorbed or emitted will depend upon what is the content, type of the contents of the hydrometeors inside the cloud. Right? So for that also cloud microphysics parameterization is very, very important. And then of course there are aerosol particles in the atmosphere. Now as you can see depicted here. These aerosols also can absorb solar radiation, they can scatter, they can re-emit, and so on. So this part again has to be taken care of in the radiation parameterization, right? Aerosol, right? Dust particles, etc. And then of course this arrows that you are seeing here in this diagram, they are the fluxes of sensible heat, right? Or the latent heat from the ocean surface, right? Or from the trees, etc. Evapotranspiration which takes place from the trees. Okay. Also, depending on the type of the vegetation, there are also like sources or the methods through which the water gets transferred from the upper surface of the earth surface to the lower surface of the earth. I mean, lower part of the earth, deep down the earth surface, right? And therefore, for us, it is also important to know that what is the soil temperature. Soil temperature, not only at the soil surface, at the skin level, but also deep down the soil. At least now in the model, generally we take into account the soil temperature up to the depth of 100 meter. Up to the depth of 100 meter, approximately, we take into account the soil temperature, the soil moisture also. Right? So the roots of the trees, sometimes they can penetrate down, right, to quite deeper level, and they can again act or help in transferring the moisture from deep soil to the atmosphere above, right? And all those things are to be taken care of in the land surface process parameterization. Also, now we talk about the runoff, right? When there is excess of water on the surface, which it cannot absorb because part of the water or rainfall which occurs on the earth surface is absorbed by the surface if it is dry. But if the soil is already saturated, then the soil will not absorb the water and will flow. And we call it runoff, right? And when it's too much excess, then we get the flood. Nowadays, you must be hearing the news that North India, especially Bihar, UP, are extremely affected by the floods, right? So, the floods, right? And the river systems, the drainage, the discharge of the water in the river systems, all those things affect. So, everything we cannot deal separately, individually, because it becomes again a humongous calculation, very difficult to take into account all those things. So combinedly, we take into account those things in the land surface process parameterization. Okay, so this is just an introduction of the physical processes in the atmosphere. We talked about the Ds, small Ds, large Ds, which can act as the agents to transport heat, moisture, momentum. Turbulence also that occurs in the lower layer as well as in the upper level. All those things. So these are the different physical processes, and from the next class onwards, one by one, we shall try to discuss that more in detail. Okay. Do you have any question till this point?
No, sir.
Everything clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So this is 12:25. I see 12:25. So if there is no question, then we can break today. We have a class at 12:30 today.
The elective people have a geoscience elective. Yes.
So tomorrow our exam will start at 11:30.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, and you already know the mode of question. So you get ready for that. You have time to prepare. And let's see if we can also do some practical class tomorrow, because tomorrow is Thursday, right? Tomorrow we have class for 2 hours. So if time permits, we shall discuss something more about the practical. We'll see. Otherwise, mainly the examination.
Okay,
Okay,
sir.
so I stop recording today. I see that Dira got the recording for today's class.
Yes, sir.